This is Renelle, and welcome to Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and Friends. And here he is now, your host, my main man, Rod Brooks.
Thank you very much, Renelle. It is indeed another edition of your favorite broadcast, Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and Friends. I am the aforementioned Rod Brooks, and as always, I'm joined on this broadcasting adventure by my partner in crime, my friend, Mr. Marcus Osborne. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
What's good? What perfect timing. Your boy literally got in the house and sat down, hit the computer, and we just rocked.
We rock and roll, baby. That is how we do it. Warriors postgame style. Once again, we're live immediately after Warriors Rockets. Rockets get the job done tonight and get it done in a big way, winning Game 5, 131-116, Game 6 Friday in San Francisco. But before we get into that, as always, Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and Friends is brought to you by Hop Monk Taverns, 3 locations to serve you great food, great beer, and great live entertainment. Locations in Novato and in Sebastopol and in Sonoma. Family friendly, like I said, you can get a great bite to eat, you can get great beer, and you can see great shows in all 3 of those locations. Once again, thanks to Dean Biersch and the folks over at Hop Monk for proudly sponsoring Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and Friends. So here we go, Marcus. This bad boy really was over in the first quarter. It was over when the Rockets jumped out to a 40-24 lead in the fourth quarter. Really, it was over when the Rockets went on a 15-0 run to force Steve Kerr to call his first timeout to make it 20-8 Houston. Houston got into that zone, and it was all downhill for the Warriors until the fourth quarter, until Steve pulled his starters with about 5:50 left to go in the third quarter. And then you got the backups. And it wasn't just, TJD and Pat Spencer and Knox and Moody and Braxton Key who got the game close and forced Ime Udoka to bring the Rockets starters back in, I think with about 7 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. But really, what kept it from getting even more out of hand, as crazy as it was in the first quarter, as I mentioned, 40-24, it was Moody and Payton and Quinn Post and Santos who actually made it 40-24, made it somewhat respectable, if you could call it that, in the first quarter, because you got absolutely nothing out of Jimmy Butler and absolutely nothing out of Steph Curry, who, by the way, both played 39 minutes in Game 4. So it got interesting at the end, but for all intents and purposes, Marcus, this game was done in the first quarter, definitely done at the end of the first half when it was 76-49 Rockets.
Yeah, just not the kind of night to have, if you're a Warrior fan in particular, not the night that you want to have sort of an emotional and energetic letdown, because you knew for a fact that Houston was going to be coming out fighting for their lives, and they're probably going to have the best game. They probably won't have another shooting game like this at all. But where the energy was, you could tell the energy was lost with the Warriors, because defensively it wasn't there. It wasn't there at all. Nobody had it. And with a team like the Warriors playing against a defensive team like Houston, you're expecting the shooting not to go perfectly. You expect to have them down. And even by the time it was all said and done, was this the most points they've scored in any game against Houston? I think it is.
113. Oh, I'm sorry, 116. More than likely, yeah.
I think that's the most they've scored,
yeah.
which says that the defensive energy for the Warriors was not there tonight.
You mean, is this the most that the Rockets have scored against the Warriors?
No, the Warriors have scored against the Rockets.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Obviously it's the most the Rockets have scored. I mean, is this one of the highest scoring games they've had all year?
131, more than likely. This was definitely the highest scoring that the Warriors had done. The Rockets had done against the Warriors. Matter of fact, the first quarter with the Rockets scoring 40, that was the highest scoring quarter for the Rockets in this series, and it got progressively worse in the second quarter. You asked me something after the game on Monday, and you asked me what offensive adjustments could the Rockets make, and to me, it was real easy. Jalen Green had to play better.
Yep.
A lot of Rockets played better. But Jalen Green in particular in the first quarter, early in the first quarter with 6 points, Jalen Green played better. The Rockets made their free throws. They were stifling defensively. But, the Rockets played tonight the same defense, the same type of aggressive hounding defense going into that zone. It's the same defense they've been playing for the vast majority of the game,
Yeah.
for the vast majority of the series. What
Yeah.
was the difference? Jalen Green played better. The Rockets made their free throws. I think they were 8 of 8 at one point. The Rockets made their free throws, and they made shots. And I've talked
Yes.
about this even before this series started. The problem
Yes.
I had with the Rockets and trying to figure out how they were going to win this series in 7 games is that they can't shoot. And for the Rockets, just I saw something before the game that just absolutely blew me away. But then when you thought about it, it didn't really blow you away. That the Rockets shot 50% from the field in the paint. Out of the 6 playoff teams, that includes Memphis. All right, that includes Miami. 2 teams that got blowed out in the playoffs here. The Rockets were the worst shooting team in the paint in these playoffs. The Rockets 38% from the field on second chance points. So, I said to you that the Rockets, they do everything except put the ball in the basket. They play defense. They turned you over as they did tonight. The difference between tonight and the last game is the Rockets did all that stuff defensively, but they got a better game from Jalen Green, he tried to say in English, and the Rockets collectively put the ball in the basket. The Rockets shot 60% from the field in the first half, 17 to 20 from the free throw line in the first half, and the Rockets had 78% of their points, or shot, I should say, 78% from the field in the paint. That was the difference in the game. And maybe is the difference in this series.
Yeah, I'm looking at the plus minus. Steph Curry had a minus 19. Jimmy Butler had a minus 23. So it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
There's really not a whole lot that even anybody can say. You just didn't have it. You didn't come out. You didn't have the energy. You definitely didn't have the defensive energy. Pretty much Houston did whatever they want, anytime they want. It was like a cat playing with his food.
And with Steph and Jimmy Butler not playing well,
it's a wrap.
You had to have big games from guys you got big games from in game 4. You had to have a big game from Podziemski. You had to have a big game from Buddy Hield. You got neither from neither. Podziemski, 8 points. Buddy Hield, 4 points. So, it's funny seeing a lot of people, though, online as this Warrior beatdown was happening before the bench guys came in and made this a somewhat respectable defeat. A lot of people saying, wait a minute, I've seen the Warriors have a 3-1 lead, go on the road for game 5, get blowed out in game 5, and then come back to Chase and win game 6 on a Friday. Game 6, Friday at Chase. When did this happen to the Warriors? I believe it was 2022, but it was definitely against the Memphis Grizzlies. Well, the Warriors had a 3-1 lead, went to Memphis, didn't show up. I mean, they were there, but they weren't there. Went to Memphis, didn't show up, came back to Chase, and then closed that out on Friday. So a lot of people are saying, Warrior fans, and this is where we want to hear from you in the chat. A lot of Warrior fans are saying they want to see that tonight, but like Too Short said, I ain't tripping.
I mean, listen, dude, you're not young anymore. And that's just the way it is. If this was 2016, 2017, the series probably ends tonight. You just don't have that. You don't have that depth. You don't have that youth. You don't have that energy where you can recover and come right back 2 days, 48 hours later after traveling. You just don't have it. So this is the problem you have when you're facing a young team, a young, hungry defensive team. These are the types of obstacles you're going to have to overcome. And with this particular Warriors team, they are not it's actually a testament to the coaching of Steve Kerr and the greatness of Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. This is not a deeply talented Warriors team. And the fact that they're here is a testament to all those people. But that being said, you're here, you got to act like you belong here, and you got to be able to bring it every night. And this is not a night where anybody felt like playing ball unless you're one of the people who've been sitting for the last 2 weeks.
Trace Jackson Davis, Pat Spencer, Knox Moody, and Braxton Key. And also, again, I gave him props earlier because of what they were able to do in the first quarter particular. You got to give these guys props. Again, Moody, Gary Payton, Post, and Santos. Those guys were ready to play in the first half compared to Steph and Draymond and Jimmy Butler who just were not in it from a physical
No
and from a
gas.
spiritual point of view. But here's the problem though with this could be just like a few years ago against Memphis. And this is something I said before the series, that the longer this goes, the better it is for the Rockets, the worse it is for the Warriors. Because now you're getting to play a game, one day off,
Yep.
play a game. Okay. So Monday, play the game, big win, had to have it up 3-1, one day off, get to Houston, you get worked in the first half, particularly. Starters get worked. Okay. You still got the series in your pocket. You're going home, that's great. Still, you're dealing with 1 day rest in between. And there's travel involved. It's not a quick flight from Houston to San Francisco. Now, obviously, the Warriors are traveling in absolute luxury. They ain't going through any airports.
Yeah.
They're not begging for honey roasted peanuts. But we are talking about a team that any amount of travel and any amount of quick travel and quick turnaround, you can be susceptible to that. So I do understand from a Warrior fan standpoint that tonight was not optimal by any sense of the imagination. You would never think, oh, we're just going to punt this game and that's okay. But if it had to happen, it happened. You get game 6 back at home, and it could be just like it was a few years ago against Memphis. But again, that was a few years ago. And that 1 day off in between games compared to the multiple days off in between games 1, 2, and 3, that 1 day off in between games, that does not help the Warriors' cause at all, which is why Steve Kerr took his starters out with about 5:50 left to go in the third
Smart.
period. Yeah,
Smart.
had to do that.
Hey, let's cash this one in. Let's sit everybody down. Let's cash this in. Get ready for the next game. It's not panic time for Warrior fans. I suspected. I thought it was going to be a 6-game series, so I suspect this is going to be done when they get back to San Francisco, and then we'll take it from there. But kudos to the Rockets. They came out and they leathered these dudes. They leathered them up like it was 1969 and it was okay to beat your kids.
Settle down. But, if you're the Rockets, you look at this game as we made our free throws. Like they did everything perfectly offensively. Everything perfectly defensively. But that's the way they've been playing, as I said. That's the way they've been playing defensively for the balance of the series. The Rockets, now it's been proven. All we got to do is finish at the rim. All we have to do is make our free throws. They're not going to shoot, the Rockets. They're not going to shoot 55% from the field. They're not going to shoot 55% from the field in game 6. And if this goes to a game 7, they're not going to shoot 55% from the field and 43% from three-point land. But you know what they can do? Damn, they took 38 free throws. Good God. But they can hit 80, or they need to hit close to 80% of their free throws. They were at 32 for 38 tonight, 84% from the free throw line. So the Rockets are saying, if we would have made some free throws in game 4, particularly, we could have won that game. Yeah. We made free throws tonight. We played at our offensive best. Our offensive aggression matched our defensive aggression. The Rockets now know the Warriors are not in a bad position, particularly, but they gave a young team belief, and they've kept an inferior opponent around longer. And this is a truism in sports. If an inferior opponent stays around long in a contest, whether it is a game, a timed game, or whether it is a series, the longer they stay around, the more confident they get. Doesn't make them better. It's not going to make them magically better, but we know that confidence is everything in sports. And I think what you need to be careful of if you're the Warriors, and they know, listen, tonight it was a lot of the Rockets doing, and it was a lot of the Warriors doing. It's just kind of one of those, you just flush it and you move on. But the one thing you have to be careful with is this is the Rockets team, and I think was having a bit of a crisis of confidence after what happened to them in game 4. Tonight, ain't no crisis of confidence. And all they know that they don't have to play exactly like they played tonight, but if they just get a little bit of that with the way that they've been playing defensively all series long, they go into game 6 feeling like they got a chance. And if they get it back to game 7, at that point, it's a toss-up.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with all that. I think that it is a good way, and it makes the Rockets feel good about themselves. I think if you're the Warriors, you're okay, especially if you're a veteran team. You don't have any confidence crisis at all. Yeah, I don't think Jimmy and Steph
Oh
and
no, no,
And Dre are like,
no,
yeah,
no.
this sucks. But it does matter for the other guys in their team. So it's up to those guys to keep everybody's confidence flow. And like I said, I don't think that it's going to be an issue. This is going to be a tough series from the jump. It's turned out to be that. The physicality of it is probably the thing that wears on the Warriors most, just because they're an older team. But I think Steve Kerr at the helm and the guys you have and Steph and Dre and Jimmy, they're going to be all right. If they don't, you are definitely taking your chances with a game 7.
Once again,
on the road.
We saw the Rockets have a great amount of success dealing with Steph Curry. Amen Thompson picked Steph Curry's pocket clean a couple of times at half court over the course of the game.
How many shots did Steph take?
Steph, 4 of 12. So he was 4
of
12 tonight. What was he in game 4? He was 3 of 10, 3 of 8 from behind the money line.
Magic formula is keep his shot selection low.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The shot selection low.
He can't hurt you if he ain't shooting.
That's right. That's right. I think it's the magic formula because even if he shoots well, unless he goes, 1,000% shooting on 14 or 13 shots, it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And the rest of the guys outside of Jimmy Butler are fair. I don't want to say, but they are fairly easy to defend. And if Steph is not killing you, then everybody else is eminently easier to defend.
And that's the thing about the Rockets' confidence is that the one thing that has not wavered is their attention to Steph, how they're guarding Steph, and the success that they're having. We talked about this in the last show we did after game 4, and I thought that this was going to happen. That, all right, Steph has had a couple of subpar games in a row in this series. Steph is going to have a breakout game tonight. Okay. Great players rarely, if ever, have 2 bad games in a row. 3 bad games in a row, not going to happen. And again, it's not that Steph was terrible. To me, it's the job that the Rockets have done and did tonight against him defensively. But now it has been 3 less than stellar games in a row for Steph, caused by singularly the Rockets' attention to detail.
Well, he hit him it's been back-to-back games, right? But the game before he hit him like 36. So
yes. So
it's been back-to-back games. I don't think he's going to go 3 in a row with only taking less than 14 shots. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, this Warrior zone, this Rocket zone though, is giving the Warriors all sorts of fits. The way that putting Amen Thompson with his length and his athleticism on Steph to start, and then throwing that zone at everybody else. It's been 2 games in a row now where the Warriors have really been unable to crack that code in terms of what they do. And how do you beat a zone? You beat it. You got 2 ways you can beat it. You either have success in the middle, and the Warriors don't necessarily have a post player that can do that, or you shoot over the top of it.
Shoot over it.
Well, the Rockets got that covered because, again, the Warriors don't necessarily have that threat in the middle offensively to bust the zone in that regard. And if you are covering Steph like a blanket, then that zone is extremely effective. And with the way the Rockets rebound, those missed shots turn into get out and go. And that's what you saw from the Rockets, particularly in the first half.
Yeah, if they're limiting Steph's shots, Jimmy Butler has got to do what he does, which is fundamentally break them down, go into the basket, and either take it to the hole and get the foul or pitch it out.
Yeah. You can see, not for a lack of want to, but that gluteus maximus problem he has because of the fall a few games ago, he's just it was significantly more pronounced in game 4. Where in the first half in particular, he just didn't have that lift. He got agitated. He got involved in the second half, fourth quarter of game 4, and adrenaline took over. But you can see tonight that he wasn't necessarily compromised movement-wise, Jimmy Butler, but he's still not right. He's still not right. He just does not have that explosion. And with Jimmy Butler being compromised and with Steph Curry being guarded the way that he's being guarded, that's how you end up getting what you got tonight, which is the Rockets beating the Warriors 131-116, and the final score does not indicate how big of a blowout it was for the majority of the game.
Yeah. That's the good news for the Warriors, is that they do get to go back home. They will be a supportive fandom in the building, and in all likelihood, guys like Pod.
But will they wear the shirts? No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? Maybe they do need the shirts.
At this point, all karma, bring it.
Maybe they do need them shirts. The others will play better at home. I mean, that's what the Warriors can hang their hats on.
Sure.
The others will play better at home. Post will play better. Pods will shoot better. That is going to be the key for them. Will those guys shoot better? And obviously they will when they get back to the crib. Yeah.
And again, I thought Post, for what he was tasked to do in the first quarter, Post gave a little bit. Moses Moody obviously gave him a lot bit over the course of the game.
Best game of the series for him.
100%, man. And but Post and Santos, those guys in the first quarter, when the Warriors were absolutely dead in the water, Post and Santos came out there and did yeoman's work. But it's just you're not going to win any games if your two best players only combined for 21 points.
Yeah, and you could, that's a recipe for disaster right there.
Yeah.
And no Kuminga. So anyway,
surprise you
not
that
really.
He didn't play? Nah, didn't
Not
surprise
really.
me either. No, a compromised Jimmy Butler for the Warriors is better than a fully healthy Jonathan Kuminga.
And I actually feel like he, and again, sometimes I'll play psychologist, but I actually feel like he would have felt insulted putting him out there in garbage time. And I bet you there was something that Steve.
Yeah, but see, that's if that's the case, and we don't know.
I don't know.
But if that's a case in this hypothetical situation, and that's a problem, because you can't feel like that. Because Trace Jackson Davis didn't feel like that when he was going out there and helping, the Warriors being able to take a little bit of sting out of the Rockets and, make them work for this victory that they had to have. Pat Spencer didn't feel that way.
No.
Pat Spencer went out there, did his job, and actually, got under a couple of guys' skin and got kicked out.
That's funny.
You can't, and again, we don't know if he felt that way. But you can't feel that way that, you're going to bring me in now. No, man. But didn't have to worry about it because he didn't get anywhere off the bench. And that is, that tells you everything you need to know about how they view Jonathan Kuminga. It is, it's a wrap. It's over.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And
if you can't get in a game where there's garbage time, Oscar the Grouch minutes to be had, then that's how they feel about you.
And it's funny because I've seen people go, "Oh, they're ruining this guy's career." They're not ruining his career.
Wow.
What are you talking about?
Now, he is listed as having an illness, but
okay,
you can fudge those things. You can absolutely.
I always hate. Look, I hate when people make the excuse, "Well, such and such, their mind just wasn't in it." Like, man, I'm sorry. You got to suck it up, baby. You getting those millions for a reason. Suck it up, get out there on the floor, play the game. Go on and play the game. I can't get my mind right.
Mentals are a big part of the game, Marcus. Now,
I'm not dismissing that they're a big part of the game. I'm saying be a big boy. When you play, and just get it out there. My feeling is that you get on that floor, you got to put it all out there. Even if you suck, you got to lay it out there. You got to at least give it the effort. The excuse that, my mind is not right, then you shouldn't be playing this game. I don't think you should be playing. I don't know if I'm going to play tonight or next week, so my mind is not. Nah, when they put you on the court, be ready.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but
it's been a hallmark of this team since Steve Kerr got there. Everybody stay ready.
Yep.
And for the most part, folks stay ready. So it's not like it can't be done. And when you're a guy that's allegedly as great as Jonathan Kuminga is, or as great as Jonathan Kuminga thinks he is, you should be looking at that as an opportunity to show out.
looking for minutes. Hey, get me
Amen.
in, get me in, get
Amen.
me in. Yeah. So at this point now, the Warriors still have a not as commanding, but they're holding serve at home
Yeah.
on Friday. Um, and as you mentioned, the prevailing wisdom is always in the playoffs. When you get back home, the role players like your Pajemskis,
Mhm.
like your Buddy Hields, those guys come back, and the comfortable environment of home leads to better basketball. But what if we are seeing, or will see, a continuation of the pattern of Steph not necessarily being Steph because of the way that the Rockets are defending him? Um, 2 times now, as we've talked about, pretty good. And the best part about it is, and the most effective part for the Rockets, is limiting the number of shots that he takes. Can the Warriors win game 6? Can they win it if Steph is continually being hounded and defended by the Rockets as he has been over
Sure.
these last couple of games?
Sure they can. I mean, it comes down, the reason you have Jimmy Butler there is for moments like that.
Mhm.
You can't have both of them having subpar nights. But if one of them is having a subpar night, that you can live with that because you've got the other to lean on to carry the team. And both those guys are used to carrying a load and leading teams. So the number of shots Steph is getting, that should be something that's concerning. But as long as you've got Jimmy Butler there doing what he usually does, I wouldn't be super duper concerned.
Surprised that we only got some goofy stuff late in the game.
I think what's funny. I think that when it's tighter, it's more chippy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When it's a blowout, everybody's going, you know what? Whatever.
Yeah. And
Whatever.
it got tighter in the fourth quarter,
And
which is
then
when the goofy stuff started.
exactly. There it is, right there. There it is, right there. And I don't mind. I don't even mind the chippy stuff. I like it. My only gripe with the entire series has been I don't like seeing a bunch of cats going to the free throw line. I just think it's ugly. And the reason that it's acceptable now is because it's a postseason, and you accept everything in the postseason. It's part of the drama. But when I hear people talk about how this is the way we should be playing all the time, like I could not watch a regular season game with this sort of parade to the free throw line. I would be turning it off.
I could not watch the Wizards and the Hornets play a physical game where there's a march to the free throw line. I will watch the Warriors and the Rockets do it. I will watch Minnesota and the Lakers do it. I only mention that because that game is on TV to my immediate left. I'll watch very good teams, and we are down now to the very good teams of the league now that Miami and Memphis are out of the playoffs. I will watch very good teams play physical basketball because I know I'm getting the best of the best. So that's why there are a lot of people who are okay with or celebrating a more physical style of basketball, or referees not being as whistle happy, because you're watching the best of the best. That's why the ratings are up. That's why the ratings were down at the beginning of the season, because the beginning of the season is not good basketball. But once you get to this point, man, everybody's locked in, everybody's tuned in.
Yeah, you're tuning in because you're seeing great teams. But it's not like the NFL where we'll tune in to watch a couple of scrub teams play because we'll watch anything with the NFL. Like you could have the two worst teams in football up against an NBA game with two great teams.
I'm watching football.
That's what I'm saying. Like you'll have you can watch the Jags.
I've done it. I've done it and felt bad about it too. You remember when those Thursday night games were really, really bad? And I want to say it was some combination of Jets Browns or Browns Jaguars or something like that. I forgot what it was. It was a Thursday night game. And I'm not a gambler. All right. I don't wager. It's just not my type of hype. But did I sit down and watch that game on a Thursday night? And it was up against some NBA game on TNT, some NBA doubleheader. Did I watch that football game? Yes. Did I feel terrible about it? Yes. Did I turn it off? Absolutely not.
So I'm saying that's exactly what I mean. Like the NBA can't really weather crappy matchups the way the NFL can. You just cannot do it. And so, yes, when playoffs start, the interest is there. People will begrudgingly watch an aesthetically crappy game because of the level of play. But these same teams playing in middle of the season. Ugh. Give me Jacksonville versus Cleveland.
Let's take a spin around the NBA playoffs. As I mentioned, because we were off yesterday, Miami got bounced out of the playoffs. They just got absolutely worked in their first round series. Lakers, Minnesota happening right now. Minnesota with a commanding, as the Warriors had, a 3-1 lead. That game now 29-17 in the first quarter. So still a long way to go. How hilarious would it be, even though the Clippers are they have their hands full with the Denver Nuggets. We'll get to them in a second if we have time. But how hilarious would it be if the Lakers got bounced in the first round tonight at home by Ant-Man and the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Yeah, dude. See, I'm one of the people who is not surprised, not shocked at all with where the Lakers are. I didn't think this was a good trade for the Lakers championship aspirations from the jump. Everybody was like, no, you got Luka and LeBron. Of course you take that. Well, you just gave up one of the best defensive centers and one of the best all-around players in basketball.
Still do it.
I wouldn't. It's not a good trade for them. They have nothing in the middle. They're not beating. This team is not beating anyone. This is a trade strictly to get yourself a future superstar to build around.
Yeah.
But Luka I don't think he's that guy. I just don't think he's that guy.
I'm still doing it. And I'm not the greatest Luka fan. I'm still doing it because, listen, there's no guarantee if they had Anthony Davis that the Lakers would get out of the first round.
But they would have a much better chance going against this team if they have Anthony Davis, because right now it's a parade down the middle.
No, you're right.
It is exactly like I thought it was going to be. They're going to score points, and everybody's going to score points on them, and they're going to fall out. Listen, they have LeBron James, and they've got Luka. Luka can score. LeBron's a great all-around facilitator, but when it comes down to it, they can't stop nobody.
There's no guarantee that Anthony Davis would have been healthy enough to even play.
Always true. Always true.
Let's keep it a buck, dog.
I mean, that's the reason you got the nickname Street Clothes.
Let's keep it a buck.
On the other hand,
but to me, having Luka makes this potential first round exit makes it even more delicious, because people hyped up the fact, well, now that the Lakers got Luka, then all their problems are solved and they should be competing for a championship. And then you see in certain areas, in certain instances, they've gotten significantly worse. So I just want what is the most hilarious thing to happen and what's absolutely the worst case scenario for the Lakers. And what's happening right now, being down 3-1, and even though it's still early, being down in the first quarter in a very important win-or-go-home closeout game, that would be the most hilarious thing, and I want that to happen. I need it to happen.
I feel bad for the Mavericks because if you've got AD and Kyrie healthy still, that's a pretty solid squad. That's a very, very good defensive squad, and you've got a couple of closers on your team. Like, that's a team that could have made a run. And that's a team that would, if I was as a Warrior fan, I would be more worried about playing them than I would be about the Lakers.
But now
I would not be concerned about the Lakers at all.
You ain't got to worry about either one of them unless the Lakers stage what would be a fairly improbable comeback. Milwaukee, Indiana. Pacers won. They're moving on. Milwaukee's done. Now everybody's talking about, where does Giannis go? Does not seem like he's going to stay in Milwaukee. It's going to be a very long, interesting summer, and the Golden State Warriors will definitely be, because they're interested, and they will definitely be connected to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Will they be able to get him? Who knows? But I bring all of this up to talk about something that is a fairly new phenomenon, Marcus, and I think it needs to be stamped out. We need to get back to fathers of athletes just being fathers of athletes.
Staying in their lane.
Stop being cheerleaders. Now, this, I don't want to say it started with Ja Morant's daddy, who does look just oddly and strangely just like Usher. Well, I don't want to say it started with John Morant's
100%.
daddy, just being all out there and stuff, and being on camera, dancing, singing in the videos. But he's the guy that you think of
Having
first.
baby oil parties.
And exactly, stop it. Come to death row. But I think because John Morant's old man has been able to get away with this, now we're seeing other fathers going, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And the latest example is Tyrese Halliburton's old man. So Tyrese Halliburton, who's a hell of a basketball player, Indiana Pacers, they won last night. The game is at in Indianapolis. Tyrese Halliburton's old man has got seats on the floor. And again, parents, mamas, daddies, aunties, uncles, in-laws, outlaws, sit on the floor. Hey, man, cheer, have a good time. But slow your roll. Don't make yourself part of the story. Well, Tyrese Halliburton's old man did not get that memo. And if you haven't seen it, check out what he did last night to Giannis Antetokounmpo. All right, so you see he's got a towel there. That's a towel with Tyrese Halliburton's face on it. And Giannis is like, yo, man, I know this ain't really happening right now. And he is showing great restraint. Now, let's show you a better, closer angle of the look on Giannis Antetokounmpo's face. And let's see if we can decipher what thoughts are running through Giannis's head. Here we go. Let's see what we got here. All right, so he's looking like, you know what he's saying? I know this ain't in my face right now with a towel of his son, and he's talking all slick and greasy. Now, I don't know if he's saying that in Greek or English or Nigerian, but I know that's exactly what he's saying. Just watch again, where he's looking, going, say, man, I know. Nah, word, should I swing on him? Nah, I'm not going to do that. Listen, for all of you future NBA mothers and fathers and all that out there, do everybody a favor.
Giannis is just going, you know what, boy? If these cameras weren't on right now,
I would beat the blank out of you.
Boy, woo, you just don't know, kid. Your son will be burying you. You have no idea.
I've never seen that before. Just first off, the corniness of holding up a towel that has your son's face on it. Oh, we gotta go with this one. That's corny. The whole outfit's corny. And then you walk up to him, but he knew not to get too close. All right. So credit to Tyrese Halliburton's old man for being a fool, but not being a stupid fool. Because if he would have walked a couple of more steps, Giannis would have had every right to drop them dogs on him.
How do you think like Draymond's daddy or Isaiah Stewart's daddy would have reacted?
How do you think Draymond's mama would have reacted?
Draymond or Isaiah Stewart would have reacted. You got to know who you messing with. That's so lame. And you know what's weird about this whole thing? This spotlight hogging shit.
Yeah.
This is only happening with the daddies.
Yeah.
The mamas, they out there, they in the stands. That's my baby, blah, blah, blah. You know who's entertaining? Kevin Durant's mama. Super entertaining.
The real MVP, by the way.
The real MVP. Day-Day, Draymond's mama, entertaining. Steph Curry's mama, entertaining. They ain't out there, out on the floor, waving towels with their kid's face on it.
Dancing, singing on records.
What are we doing?
Not being parents. That's what we're doing. All right. We're making ourselves part of the show. Now, Tyrese Halliburton's old man did apologize, but you would think that he is going to be suffering some sort of punishment, or he's going to be reined in a bit tighter, because clearly what we're seeing from Tyrese Halliburton's old man, as we saw from John Morant's daddy, is a lack of impulse control. I'm all about being proud of your kid, but come on now.
And what makes you feel like you so important that you can get out there and jump on these athletes' faces and talk crazy and get real greasy?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, John Morant's daddy, the same way. He was getting into it with other people too.
Yeah.
With other players too.
Yeah.
Like, why are you trying to be the show? Sit down. Sit down. Sit down.
And I'm sure Tyrese Halliburton is like, Pops. I hope anyway. Like, Pops, really?
He did.
Word.
He did.
Really? Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing?
How embarrassing is that? Oh my God. I would be mortified if I was like
This old man should have been embarrassed, and that's a problem.
Ain't no
Nobody gets embarrassed
embarrassment.
anymore. No one has shame. You
And
should
you're
feel
not on the
shame if
team.
that were you.
You are not on the team. What did you do? You waved a towel. That's what you did.
Well, he did contribute some DNA, but that does not mean you get to run on the court after a serious
Accidentally.
game. Whoa! Wait a minute. We don't know if the
He wasn't
Halliburton.
playing.
No, whoa, yo, slow down, dog. Wait a minute. I don't. The views expressed on Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and Friends are not necessarily. No, just kidding.
You know that man wasn't playing.
I mean, stop, dog. All right, that's enough. Okay, we're not gonna do that. Tyrese Halliburton's old man runs up on you, and then we got a problem. Then what? Then I got to get involved, and it's a whole thing. We absolutely
that's gonna be his problem. You heard him talking about them gorillas and those 100 dudes.
All right, so let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. It's the debate that is sweeping the nation. The question was asked on Twitter, because of course it was asked on Twitter. Can one gorilla, okay, silverback, all right, let's talk about, if we're going to talk about gorillas,
okay, it's got to be the
we're going to talk about the gorilla of all gorillas, and that is the silverback, okay? Can one silverback gorilla take on and defeat 100 men? Lot of opinions have been thrown out, and you have people who say, come on, dog, it's a gorilla, okay? All right, first off, R.I.P. Harambe. We miss you, King. Okay, they did you dirty. All right, you will always live on in our hearts. But we're talking a gorilla, man. A gorilla's got the strength of like many men.
This is facts.
Got fangs. You know what I'm saying?
Big facts.
King of the beasts. All right.
This is facts.
You got a lot of people saying, 100 men. Like, what if they all, jumped a gorilla at one time, or if there was some strategery involved and they came in waves? What if you were able to pick the 100 men to attack Mighty Joe Young, and and you would get, Aaron Donald, and you would get guys of that ilk. If you could craft together an army of 100 men to take on gorilla, then it should be light work. I'm on Team Gorilla because it's a gorilla, for God's sakes. And I just want to introduce this bit of video of two gorillas getting active. And if you think humans are going to stop one of these bad boys, you're kidding. No, you don't want that. You don't want that.
These are 400-pound beasts with this kind of agility.
Hang on. Let me. I just want to go back here. Let me see if I can stop it. First off, look at the size of that thing. All right, and look at the lower body musculature.
It's all muscle.
Nothing but power. Nothing but power, and nothing but the desire to eat bananas and whoop some ass. You think you gonna be able to handle something that is as big and can move like this? Look at old boy come from. Look at this. Look at
That's
this.
What I'm
look
saying.
At the agility. Look at the balance.
These are 400-pound monsters, pure muscle. They are vegetarians. They come in peace, but they will leave you in pieces.
Trust
me when I tell you that.
Look at. I didn't know gorillas was cheeked up like that. I had no idea. But you know what them cheeks give you? Them cheeks give you power. All right. Yeah. From that base, you're not. No, listen. No.
They can
lift they'll tire the gorilla out.
They can lift 2 tons.
You ain't tired.
What are we talking
about? I'm Team Gorilla. All right. I'm down with Mighty Joe Young. I'm down with McGilla. I'm down with the whole gorilla community. All right. So as far as I'm concerned, the 100 men versus one gorilla debate, Team Gorilla all day.
I've given this a lot of thought, and I've done
apparently
a shocking amount of research on it. Just when it first started, 100 men, of course, 100 men, it's 100 men. And then I started digging in and doing my deep dive on the actual gorilla. And here's what I think.
Okay.
I think, and this is just basically you bare knuckle, no weapons, no planning,
No. A straight up fisticuffs.
all these other caveats that people are coming up with. You send 100 dudes after that one gorilla, you probably gonna lose the first 15, 20 dudes in. Them dudes just got to be the guys who just going, you know what? I just lost my job. I just lost.
It's got deep all of a sudden. The ones that got nothing to live for are going to be like the
girl left me.
The first ones to get off the boat at Normandy, or like the kamikaze pilots.
That's right.
Like, I'll do it. I got nothing.
I mean,
okay, all right.
Okay. They gone. Okay. They are gone.
Gone. Collateral damage. Gone.
From then on, that last 80. I don't think that they're going to all be able to just jump on this one gorilla at one time. Now, what I've read is that the gorillas don't have great stamina. Nonetheless, when you corner a massive beast like that and they're desperate, they are capable of doing feats that are unimaginable. So I think that long term, because the gorilla eventually gets tired, you end up with maybe 10, 11 dudes left. But eventually they wear the gorilla down and they get the gorilla. But you're probably going to lose the majority of those dudes because first of all, you're going to lose some dudes who once they see the first 15 dudes,
they out.
I'm gone.
Desertion.
I'm gone. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Once you see that gorilla yank some arms and legs out and bite some heads off, literally crushing skulls with their bare hands, that's going to be a business decision made. My man's going to be like, I'm going to let them dudes who lost their job go first. I got a job. I got to get my check this Friday. So I'm out. I'm out.
I put in plenty overtime these last couple of weeks.
I got retirement coming in 10 years. I ain't got time for this.
We have differing opinions. That's what makes this country great. Like, we can have differing opinions on something as stupid as one gorilla versus 100 men. I didn't think about sort of the psychological aspect of it, where you would get just, guys who have nothing to live for go out there and be a part of the overall wearing down of the gorilla that we have in this. Hopefully this stays a hypothetical scenario. I swear to God, if this ends up on TikTok or something where we have one gorilla fighting 100 men, then we have truly lost our way as a society. I'm
to see it.
I'm saying, you know what? Give me a bootleg copy. I'm not going to pay for it, but will I watch it? Yeah, I'll watch it. I don't know. I'm just saying, the gorilla, once that gorilla rips off a couple of arms, and it has an arm of each of a foe, in each gorilla hand, and that gorilla is beating people that are coming at it with the arms that it ripped off of others. I think you're going to have more deserters of the 100 than just like a couple dozen or so. I think once that gorilla goes through the first guys on the beach at Normandy, you're going to have more guys go, no.
You need some cats who are committed to the cause and to stick it out. That's the only way this can work out in their favor, because most people, put it this way, if you are in a mall and a gorilla comes running through the mall, everybody's running. So in order to get this gorilla down, you're going to have 100 dudes committed to the cause. Some dudes saying, "I'm giving my life to this."
Tell my wife I love her.
I want to go down in infamy. I want my picture on the wall. I want all of it. That's the only way that can ever work, because them gorillas is tearing limbs off, biting through heads, faces. Like, I heard some dudes talk about, well, all you got to do is get 25 guys on one arm and 25 guys on, like, what are you talking about?
No.
What are you get
they will get shrugged off immediately.
They wouldn't even be able to get 25 on that arm.
No.
You're talking about beasts that can lift 2 tons.
No.
Get out of here.
No.
Get out of here. How about that hot Indian dude that got killed at the San Francisco Zoo for throwing rocks at the tiger in 2010?
Oh, that's one of my favorite things of all time. Cats went to the zoo on Christmas, thought it would be real fun to mess with a tiger, and that tiger said, "What? It's the Chris Rock joke. A tiger went tiger." Oh, it's one of my favorite things of all time. Hate that the tiger had to die because of their stupidity, but I love the fact that the tiger was like, "Oh, I'm leaving here with something, and it is going to be the crushed craniums of one of you
That's
jackasses."
exactly it.
Oh, it's one of my favorite stories of all time.
That's from Panaki. Panaki says not only did he waste a perfectly good green card,
Damn.
it proved that the life of Pi is completely bullshit. That tiger would have ate the fuck out of that Indian kid.
I also love, and by the way, again, we love you folks in the chat getting active amongst each other and being a part of the show. I love that I wasn't the only one that noticed that those gorillas in the video that we showed that they were caked up. I'm glad to know that that I wasn't the only one whose eyes cast downward and was like, "Ooh, look at that."
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, we were having just such a good, earnest discussion about basketball. Rockets Warriors post game, and then where did I take it? And I'd take full responsibility. Where did I take it to? I took it to Gorilla BBLs, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, but that's what we do. All right, it's just
Lord have mercy.
We'll give you the clinical stuff. We'll give you the keen sports analysis, and then we'll give you the keen analysis of
we're gonna take it to the barbershop. That's what we doing. That's what the real conversation is.
This is like the conversation I had at the barbershop. Well, I didn't have it because the conversation was swirling around me, but it was a conversation of who's better, R. Kelly or Stevie Wonder. And I'm like, first off, how do you even match those two up? And secondly, it's Stevie Wonder. But I kept my opinion to myself because
it's hard.
You had warring factions on either side. And there were people who were really, really, really riding for Robert Kelly. Really riding.
I'm not, again, this is removal of, listen, the dude is a horrible person.
Yes.
He's a terrible human being. But also, R. Kelly is a vile human being, but also step in the name of love. What are we talking about here?
Yeah. It's the ultimate test of can you separate the art from the artist?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the ultimate test.
Exactly.
People don't. It's Woody Allen, Roman Polanski. No, people don't really. It's like, oh, but R. Kelly, people like, yeah, he's terrible.
Right.
But again,
they were saying
you remind me of my Jeep.
Man, come on now. Come on. Sex me. Bump and grind. What are we talking about here?
We're talking about R. Kelly.
Have you seen Charleston Pierce?
No.
Oh,
unfortunately, I've seen Charleston White. That's not the same. Not the same guy.
Lil Boosie. So there's a rapper, Lil Boosie.
Oh, well, of course
he got Boosie. Me. But Lil Boosie always says the dumbest stuff. And this time he said something that just made me so mad. Remember when they were doing verses during the pandemic?
During COVID, yeah.
So this clown got on there. He's like, yeah, man, R. Kelly would wipe the floor with Michael Jackson in a verse.
This is the stuff.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Well, we were trapped inside. We were going through some things back then.
He said this last week.
Oh God, no. Oh.
He said this last week.
Yeah. I mean, that's almost enough to where you start to want to be like, hey, man, do we need to have a psychiatric evaluation? Because I think we need to have a psychiatric evaluation.
It basically comes down to, you know what? I respect everybody's opinions, but some people's opinions, some people just shouldn't have their opinions broadcast.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't respect everybody's opinions.
I don't. I don't.
Depending on the opinion
and
the person. And if I don't particularly care for the person and their opinion is garbage, it just makes my job a lot easier.
My man was like, yeah, R. Kelly's the king of R&B. Michael Jackson got nothing. Like, dude, you're a grown up.
Well, but I said this to somebody about Michael Jordan. We are at a point now where there are enough people who either didn't see Michael Jordan play, or when they did see him, they have a memory of him as a Washington Wizard.
Yep.
Where he was still a good player, but he wasn't Mike J. And because you have people who didn't see him play, or they don't remember when he was truly at his peak,
man,
that they tend to minimize because they didn't see it, didn't experience, don't know it. They tend to minimize what we saw, right?
Yeah.
And we all saw greatness.
Yep.
There are enough people who weren't around for, the Michael Jackson greatness era. There are
Ugh,
enough people who don't realize how big he was. He was a
they don't.
global phenomenon. They
They
don't they
don't.
have no understanding of the monoculture where everybody, we all basically watch the same thing. We all basically listen to the same music. Now that everything is fractured, everybody's going off in their separate ways.
Yeah.
But because you have enough people who didn't experience that, they don't understand. It's like
They don't.
we didn't understand because we weren't alive. We didn't understand how big Elvis was. You could debate Elvis and did he steal his music? Was he really that good? Blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. But what you cannot debate is how huge he was. But
Yep.
because we didn't experience that, we didn't see it, it wasn't that important to us. So I'm not saying that the people who didn't see Jordan play and then
Yeah.
they minimize what he did to prop up others, whether it's LeBron, whether it's Steph, whatever. I'm not saying that they're bad people because clearly they're not. And this is a debate about sports, so it'd be crazy to call them bad people. But what I'm saying is that if you don't know about it, chances are you're not going to have enough of an understanding about that topic to really have the clarity is not the word, but to have
Context.
the
It's
context.
context.
Thank you. To have the
Yeah.
context of that person and their contribution to whatever art form or whatever sport they were a part of.
Yeah, man. I mean, when people, I think the difference between us, our generation, and generations younger than us, is I do think that we had a healthy respect for artists and pop culture figures that came before us. Like, I saw the footage of people losing their minds over I was also alive when Elvis was alive, but I saw the footage of people going crazy over Elvis. You see it and you go, oh, okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
When I see these young folks talk about Taylor Swift as big as Michael Jackson, I'm like, you're on crack. You're on crack. You know who was huge? Madonna. And when I tell them that Madonna was as big as Taylor Swift, they're like, nah. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're talking about. And here's the thing. They sold actual records.
Yeah.
So when you hear that Michael Jackson sold 47 million copies of Thriller, that's not some amalgamation or some calculation of number of
streams and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
and blah, blah, blah.
These were people who had to actually go and buy physical copies of the music.
Right.
It wasn't push a button. It was delivered immediately to your phone. All of these things are great. I'm not saying that it was better back in the day
free
because it wasn't, but I think it's very important to understand that when you actually had to physically go and purchase music, that's a very that transaction alone means a lot. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy music today with it being easy to get, where you don't have to get in the car, go to a store, pay money for something that they may or may not have or whatever, and then come back and find something to play it on, whether it was a record player or a Walkman or what have you. But the fact that you had to actually go and do all of those things,
bro,
that meant something. It meant that people were really vibing with what you were doing.
This is what I'm talking about. I don't think people understand that people spent hard-earned money to buy these. It's like people are setting records about the number of singles on the chart at one time, etc. But I hate to say it's easier now. I hate to sound like
it is
old NBA guy, but if you're a popular artist, it's much easier to get songs on the charts because nobody has to pay for anything.
Yeah.
It's free for you. It's a bigger deal when you're a Michael Jackson or whoever else is, even Eminem. They had to sell actual physical copies of CDs, of records, of tapes. They had to sell that. So 47 million actual sales is insane.
Yeah. No, it was a very important transactional relationship. You liked something, you had to not jump through hoops, but you had to go and get it. You had to know where you have to plan this out. All right. Or you do what most people did. I know I did to build my then CD collection. You just made up a bunch of fake names and addresses to Columbia House and got all that stuff for a penny. So,
Got your Columbia collection of records and tapes.
am I a hypocrite that eventually I just figured out that I could just get all this stuff sent to me or, many of my aliases through the mail for just one single penny? Yes.
And then don't pay for the rest of them because they say you got to get the rest of them. Like, hey, nah, I'm cool.
How did they stay in business?
I don't know.
How did Columbia House stay in business? Because I don't know anybody who actually paid the money they were supposed to pay for all of those records, tapes, and eventually CDs. It was always, I'm going to, send you this penny, and then I'm just not going to pay you, Columbia House.
I'm going to take my 13 tapes for this penny, and then, maybe I'll get another one. Maybe I won't, though.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't.
Every semester, all right, every semester to move into a different dorm or different apartment. That's when I was like, okay, it was time for me to get 13 of the hottest CDs out there for one penny.
That's right. I wrote an op-ed about Michael Jackson. It was an obituary op-ed about Michael Jackson when he died. And the one thing I really thought it was, and this is why I don't think there's ever going to be another Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson is probably the very last generational superstar. Like when he was a little kid, my grandma and my mama was into Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And then as he got older, my aunts and my cousins got into Michael Jackson. And then I came of age and I was liking Michael Jackson. Then he was making music for long. My girls got it. My kids was into Michael Jackson. You're never going to find another generational superstar like that.
Well, and it's funny you bring that up. I think from a sports standpoint, and we've had this discussion, whether it's, the old days of the podcast, we were just doing audio only, or just, conversations we were having, just, kicking and having conversations. We are possibly getting to the end of that in the NBA. Because once LeBron and Steph are gone, I know they talk about face of the NBA and all. I kind of know what it means, but I don't exactly know what it means. But I think once LeBron and Steph are gone, and obviously LeBron and Steph have people who don't like them. Steph is not particularly well liked in Houston. LeBron is not particularly well liked in, pick a place.
Anywhere.
But there are more people who love LeBron and Steph globally than there are people who dislike LeBron and Steph. Again, on a global from a global standpoint, I don't know if we're going to see anybody in the next 20 years who can equal that kind of popularity.
Yeah.
What Mike had, what Kobe had.
The ratings. Who's going to spike the ratings?
Yeah, I don't, they are the natural successors to what Mike and Kobe had, that kind of global popularity. Yeah. And to the guys who are hooping right now, because you got young hoopers, Anthony Edwards and Ja when he gets his mind right, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Giannis. And this is no disrespect to them, they're not them dudes, the needle movers that Steph and LeBron are. So when Steph and LeBron are gone, and hopefully that's not for another couple of years, they're going to be like Michael and Elvis.
Yep.
You're just not going to see that kind of love anymore.
No, and this is actually a pretty good conversation, because I thought about this just a bit over the last 5 years. Is that, just like you said, when these two guys are gone, it's going to leave a huge void. Not just in the NBA landscape, in the basketball landscape, but obviously in the ratings landscape. And they're such unique players. You never know what kind of, I think Steph Curry is one of the best basketball watchers of all time.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Especially when he gets hot. It's just fun. And Michael Jordan was just fun to watch. I didn't even care and this is what I mean when I talk about how people, they sling the word superstar around all the time. There's only a couple of superstars in the NBA. And by that, I mean, who outside of the NBA, who's recognized? Which players are recognized? And for me, it's LeBron and it's Steph, maybe KD, maybe Giannis. But for people who are not basketball fans, who don't follow the NBA, they recognize Steph, they recognize LeBron. I don't know if anybody else has that sort of facial name brand recognition. And I don't know where that person's going to come from. Anthony Edwards could be that guy. He's got it all.
But he doesn't want it.
He says he doesn't want it. But
I mean, I'm going to take him at his word, because normally guys just wouldn't say it.
That's the problem. He doesn't have a say. It's the fans who have the say. They decide who they want to watch. The fact of the matter is if this kid wins, he's it.
Yeah. Well, you know what will help him, even though Anthony Edwards obviously is recognized by those of us who watch and love hoop. But you know what would definitely, put a battery in the back of that ship that will propel him to great heights? Knocking the Lakers out as a 6 seed and getting them out in 5 games. 53-43 as they're heading to the half. Minnesota is on top. That's a good place for us to exit stage left. But before we do that, Marcus, game 6, Friday in San Francisco. Warriors have a chance to close it out. Longer the series goes,
they better
it is for the Rockets, not advantageous for the Warriors. Only 1 day off in between games. Warriors lose 131-116 tonight. Do the Warriors handle their business at home and finish this series off in 6?
Yeah, my prediction has been 6, so yes, I'm gonna say yes. I don't think they can afford to let this thing be a coin toss in the game 7. That's just that's just not gonna work.
Well, you said Warriors in 6. I said Rockets in 7. We're both sticking to our guns. I want to see a 7-game series just because 7-game series are fun. Game 7s in the series are fun. So I'll tell you what, once again, just like the 100 men versus 1 gorilla debate, we once again differ. You say Friday it ends. The Warriors will get ready to more than likely take on the Minnesota Timberwolves in Western Conference semifinals tilt. I say that there's going to be a game 7 on Sunday in downtown Houston. We shall see. My brother, it's been fun per usual.
As always.
All right. And as always, we are sponsored by Hop Monk Taverns, 3 of them, where you can get your eat on, you can have some great beer, and you can also see great shows in Novato, Sonoma, and in Sebastopol. Folks, as always, we thank you for joining us. And to those of you that were active in the chat, it was fun. We see you. Keep it going. Don't know if we're going to be able to do a show on Friday. I have Giants pre and post game duties on NBC Bay Area starting tomorrow through the weekend. So if we are unable to go live on Friday, how about we do a special Saturday night show? How about we call it, Marcus? Wait for it. The Saturday night special. What do you think about that? Dog. You don't even know the magic that happens inside this dome piece, baby. You don't even know. I just gave you a taste of it, baby. All right, everybody, be good and be good at it. We'll see you.